Good morning. Welcome to the Natural Resources Preservation Advisory Board regular meeting. All right, on Wednesday, February 1st, 2023 at 10 a.m. Can we kindly silence our cell phones for today? And Ms. Thompson, can you please call the roll?
Member Davison.
Present.
I'm going to do it again. Member Davison.
Present.
Member Nestle. Vice Chairperson Chapelier. Present. Chairperson Stansfield.
Present.
And Town Planner Allen is here.
Good. And can we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Are there any additions or deletions to today's agenda? Then is there a motion to accept the agenda as presented for our meeting?
Motion to accept agenda.
Second the motion.
All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Aye. All opposed say no. Okay, so we're going to move on to item 5, public comments. Public comment is now open. Each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes to speak. Ms. Thompson, were there any pre-registered public comments for today?
There were no pre-registered public comments.
So we're going to transition over to presentations and updates from Town Planner Allen. Okay.
Good morning, everybody. For the record, Ingrid Allen, Town Planner. I do have a few updates based on some of the comments made at the previous meeting back in November of 2022. Just a friendly reminder that the letter that the board completed to residents regarding the dune management resources that was printed in the November 2022 edition of the Manager's Monthly. I take it a lot of you saw that. With regards to the dune restoration outreach meeting, which is scheduled to be held on March 1st of 2023 at the library at 6 p.m. I've gone ahead and provided you on the dais a handout of what we received from the speaker. And as a result of this handout, if we can go to the PowerPoint, Janelle, we have drafted up a article, if you wish, to be placed in the next Manager's Monthly. And this is what it's going to look like. It's just a draft at this point. But again, what is contained here in the overview that was provided by the speaker has been incorporated into this article that will run in the February's Manager's Monthly. And I know that the chair will be talking a little bit more about this student presentation in March in just a little bit. Okay. Also at the November 2022 meeting, the board had discussed reaching out to condo property management companies, as well as the HOAs, to get more bucket trees on the beach. Now, I did discuss this with the town manager, and he's okay with the board taking on that responsibility. Keep in mind that when you do your outreach, I'll be happy to provide an HOA list that we have. But be mindful that when you do the outreach, that whichever condo is interested, that they have a trash can on the beach. Some of you who have been on the board for a while, if you recall, when we did the initial bucket tree outreach, staff, myself, I reached out to those condominiums that had a Town of Highland Beach trash receptacle on the beach, right? Makes sense. If you're going to have a bucket tree, you need to have a trash receptacle. So that's who we initially reached out to. And then through word of mouth, we did get some other condos who don't have a Town of Highland Beach trash receptacle, but they have their own, and they reached out to us and we gave them the bucket tree. So again, I'll let you as the board discuss how you want to move forward with the, reaching out to the HOAs and the property management companies, but just something to be mindful of as you move forward, that they have some sort of trash can. If they don't, they'll have to get one, right? So people can get rid of the trash that they pick up. With regards to the beach erosion study, this is on the town's strategic priorities plan for 2022. I did get direction from the town manager to reach out to the firm that provided the report back in 2013. I did reach out to the firm. They've changed names. They've been merged. Buyouts have happened since 2013. They will be providing to staff a scope within the next 2 weeks for this updated beach restoration study. And I asked them about piggybacking off the study, having some sort of analysis of the dunes, which was suggested or supported, I should say, by the town commission at their November 1st meeting. So, and I also mentioned to them about the climate change vulnerability assessment, which has also been completed since the 2013. In that assessment, I believe I mentioned to the board previously, there's a section which talks about those high vulnerabilities for the town of Highland Beach, and shoreline recession is a high vulnerability. So they'll be taking that into consideration in the update. So wanted to let you know about that. And then there was some reference about an electric leaf blower ordinance. I did discuss this with the town manager. It's not on the strategic priorities plan yet. There was a meeting yesterday with the commission about strategic priorities. It's not a fully completed document at this point. I know that the commission will be looking back at those priorities in the near future. So when the priorities list is adopted, if the commission decides to direct it to the board or direct it to staff to come up with an ordinance, then, we will move forward accordingly. They may have staff do it and then have staff provide an ordinance to the commission as an introduction. And then at the introduction, they may want to have the board look at it. That's totally up to the commission on how they wish to proceed. And then I know Janelle, I don't know if you want to provide your update. I know there was another comment in November about the metrics on the number of people who visit the board webpage. Janelle can give you some information on that.
Okay, so at the last meeting, member Davison, you asked me if the town had a way of basically keeping up with how many times the website is viewed, the natural resources webpage is viewed. So I did speak with the town manager's office about that. And I was provided a little bit of information. So they do track that. They do track how many times the pages are viewed. So what I had Teresa look into was specifically related to the last food truck event that was in October. So looking at how much the page was viewed prior to that, the day of, and after the event. So if you look at the very last page of the agenda, you'll see that she basically provided a chart that shows how much that page was viewed. So here we looked at October 11th, which was prior to the food truck event, with 26 views. October 24th with 13 views, and October 27th with 13 views. So the page was, viewed a little bit more prior to the food truck event. And then the day of the food truck event, we had some views as well. So if there's ever any time that you kind of want to get some metrics to kind of see how your page is going, like how many views you're getting, the town manager's office can provide that information.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And that's pretty much the completion of the update.
Okay.
Do you mind me asking a question?
Sure.
Do you want us to talk about the bucket trees now or later when we come to the agenda item?
Maybe you want to do it later,
Yep.
so we can move forward with the sea turtle. I think that'll be good.
So we're going to move forward as per the agenda to approval of the minutes from November 2nd of 2022. Are there any corrections to the minutes of November 2nd of 2022?
No.
Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
Motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say yes.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Okay. And minutes are approved. No unfinished business to address at this session, so we're going to move right on to new business. Letter A, proposed amendment to the town ordinances to incorporate sea turtle protection lighting standards. I refer this item to Town Planner Allen.
Okay, thank you. Janelle, if we could please put up the PowerPoint. Thank you. Okay, on page 13 of your packets, I provided a memorandum to you, and I'll just summarize that. And I'll also actually defer back to the October 18th memorandum that was presented to the Town Commission. That's where a lot of the meat and potatoes is with regards to this whole issue on sea turtle lighting. So again, back on October 18th, the commission did consider an introduction to a proposed amendment to the town code that would incorporate more comprehensive standards with regards to sea turtle protection lighting. The commission did make a motion to send the ordinance to the board. They also asked that Gumbo Limbo, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, and the town's marine turtle permit holder give their advice, expert advice on the ordinance. And let me just first state, we do have the town sea turtle permit holder here, Joanne Ryan. And so I just wanted to acknowledge her. And if you have any questions, I'm sure she'll be happy to address them later. So let me go ahead and just very quickly summarize that October 18th Town Commission memorandum, which just start on page 16 of your packets. So basically what I state in this memorandum is there's two chapters in the code that currently talks about sea turtle lighting protection. And as you can see, it's very limited, right? So the first chapter that addresses sea turtles is chapter 30. And I provided you the actual section which addresses sea turtle lighting. It's section 30-85. And it basically says that all lighting of all structures east of State Road A1A shall comply with the sea turtle protection lighting standards as adopted by the town. Now, these standards are found in the other chapter, which is chapter 4, section 4-8. And basically that says that no artificial light shall illuminate any area of the beach, which may be used for turtle nesting and hatchling during the period from March 1st to October 31st of each year from dusk to dawn. Now, what I had indicated in this memorandum is that section 4, which is apparently our standards, do not address the different types of artificial lighting sources, residential dwellings, parking areas, walking paths, pool areas, all these areas generate light. That section of the code is silent on addressing any of these things. Section 4-8 does not talk about the visibility from the beach, the various lighting from structures on the beach, whether it's on A1A or on the west side of A1A. And it does not provide specific types of lighting fixtures. So there's a lot missing here. I've gone ahead and also provided in that memorandum some of the goals, objectives, and policies that we have in our comprehensive plan that support sea turtle lighting regulations. I'm not going to go into each one, but they're there for your reading, starting on the bottom of page 16 to the top of page 17. I also just want to point out that the sea turtle lighting ordinance is on the town's strategic priorities plan for 2022. So in consistence with the comprehensive plan and consistence with the strategic priorities plan, staff is going to move forward with this proposed amendment to incorporate these sea turtle lighting regulations. And on page 17 of your packets, I've provided sort of a breakdown, if you wish, of what that entails. There's a purpose and intent, there's definitions, applicability, lighting restrictions along the beach, etc. Now, also in that memorandum, I did provide some information that I did receive from FWC regarding the last 5 years of sea turtle nesting data for the town of Highland Beach. And I've also attached a table also provided by FWC, which shows Highland Beach in comparison to other municipalities in Palm Beach County. On page 19, you can see that Juno Beach has the highest number of nests. And interestingly, the town has more documented sea turtle nests than the cities of Boca Raton and Delray Beach. So that may be surprising to some of you. On page 18, for those of you that are not familiar with sea turtles, the leatherback and green sea turtles are endangered, while the loggerhead is threatened. Those are the 3 species that you see on this southeast coast of Florida. And the threats to each of these species includes coastal development, which increases artificial lighting, which can be detrimental to hatchlings, causing them to migrate towards the light instead of the ocean. So I have here some lighting examples, again, for those of you that are not very familiar with sea turtle lighting. In the ordinance talks about downward directed lighting, full cutoff lighting, fully shielded lighting. I'm going to show you some examples of what that is, okay? Oh, I don't think it's working. Yeah. All right, should I try again? No? Okay, yeah, if you can go to the next slide, thank you. Actually, before I get to lighting, I did want to point out this frontal dune. This is just an illustration that calls out the frontal dune. As you know, if you review the proposed ordinance, there's a definition for frontal dune. So I think showing an illustration, again, those of you that may not be familiar between a back dune and a frontal dune, this is where the frontal dune is. Now we can go to the next one, please. So here's some examples of the shielded. Again, I've gotten this from the Florida Fish and Wildlife. Some examples, which I think is very helpful. This is the shielded. So here you have on the left, a bad example, that light is not shielded. And to the right is a good example. Light is coming straight down, and you could see that the light is amber. And in the ordinance, we talk about this long wavelength lighting, right? So the red, amber, those lights, again, don't disturb the hatchlings. They're not the bright white lights, which do. We can go to the next slide, please. Again, this is another example of that long wavelength. The photograph on the left is that incandescent bulb, bad, it's a white light. Again, turtles can mistake that and head towards it, and they crash into the wall, and that's it. Whereas the good light, again, on the right side, excuse me, again, shows that amber bulb, that red soft bulb that, again, doesn't impact the turtles. We can go to the next one, please. And then here's, again, an example of an unshielded light, again, versus the full cutoff. Again, in the ordinance, we do specifically reference a full cutoff example, and that's a perfect example, right? So there's a shield like on the top, so the light goes downward. So that's that. So now that I've given you just an overview of that October 18th memorandum that was given to the town commission, let's go back to the memorandum that I prepared starting on page 13. I've started off here with providing you all the comments that we received from the Florida Fish and Wildlife and from Gumbo Limbo. Starting with the Florida Fish and Wildlife, they've asked to add a foot candle definition consistent with the state of Florida model lighting ordinance. Now, let me also make clear that our ordinance that we're proposing is based off the state model, okay? Now, I've gone ahead and added this foot candle definition. And as I noted in the memorandum to the board, I provided it in the ordinance with a double bolded underline, so you can distinguish that new language versus what was initially provided to the commission on October 18th in an introduction format. So we've gone ahead and added that. They're also recommending a light transmittance of 15 to 30%. And they added that for temporary construction lighting to add the following two additional regulations: to turn off during nighttime in sea turtle nesting season, or if authorized during sea turtle nesting season, should only be from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. and must be restricted to the minimum amount necessary and shall incorporate the standards in this section, and to restrict to the minimum number of foot candles necessary to conform with applicable construction and safety standards. Okay. Now, these were not provided. These are something for the board to consider, and you'll make your recommendations to the commission as you desire. Comments from Gumbo Limbo are on page 14 of your packet. They indicate to revise the definition of beach to reflect the toe of the dune rather than permanent vegetation. Now, again, that definition of beach comes from the state model ordinance. So keep that in mind. That, again, you will determine how you'd like to make your recommendation to the commission. They also say to provide in the certified wildlife lighting definition where choices can be found. Now, I'm not a big fan of adding websites into the town code because websites can often change, right? So I think the way it's written, this is just my 2 cents. You can make, again, your recommendation as you see fit. When you see the definition of the certified wildlife lighting in the ordinance, which is on page 22, you see it says certified wildlife lighting fixtures and bulbs reviewed and approved with conditions of use through the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission's wildlife lighting certification process. I think anyone reading that would be like, okay, let me go ahead and Google certified, wildlife lighting certification process. Personally, I think it reads fine, but again, you will make your comment as you so desire. The next comment from Gumbalimbo was for temporary lighting includes cell phone screens. I did go ahead and add that to page 23 of the ordinance. I think that's reasonable. Provide a light transmittance of 15% or 50% for all windows within 100 feet of the tone of the dune, or 45% for 100 feet beyond the dune. Now, as I mentioned later in your memorandum, the ordinance is consistent with the state model ordinance, which is a lighting transmittance of 45% or less. And I provided you a table on page 14 of your memorandum, which shows what other municipalities do as far as light transmittance for sea turtle. Boca Raton also has 45%, Palm Beach County as well. And then we have Delray Beach, Juneau Beach, and Ocean Ridge. They have adopted the Palm Beach County's sea turtle lighting ordinance. So therefore they default to the 45%. So the board will make their decision. And then lastly, it says here for proposed existing exterior and interior lighting, include the removal of televisions away from the windows. I thought that was a reasonable thing to add, and I've gone ahead and added it via that double bolded underline on page 29. Again, the board, you can make any recommendation on that. And I went ahead and added a reference to, I should say not a reference, but examples of the long wavelength. That was a recommendation by the town commission at their October 18th meeting. They felt that someone reading long wavelength, they may not really know what that means. So we went ahead and put some examples of colors, which again, is very reasonable. And then on the rest of page 14, again, I talk about that 45%. As I said, we are mimicking the state model ordinance. And you may have noticed in your packet, there's a very lengthy lighting survey. It's about 60 something pages that was done by the county. It was an informal study, but I think it really shows you the reality on the beach. And there's, as you can see, there were a lot of a lot of properties with a lot of lighting. And I think, again, it's a very helpful study to look at. Also in your packets, attachment number 4, which is on page. It's on page 45. And actually, if we go to the next slide, Janelle, I have it on here as well. This is a window tint visible light transmittance. Again, this is to give you perspective about the 45. So I couldn't find one that really had the 45, but you could see the 50, how that would look. And then again, Florida Fish and Wildlife is recommending 30%, and FWC is, the FWC is recommending 15 to 30%. And Gumbalimbo is also, recommending 15% is dark. So with that, I'll be happy to address any questions that you may have.
Do we have a copy of the Juneau Beach full ordinance by any
No.
chance?
So would you like us to comment on your comments now, or how do you
Well,
want to
again,
do this?
this ordinance is for your review, so you can make any discussion that you wish. You can ask staff any questions. As I said, we do have the sea turtle permit holder here, so you can ask your questions as you see fit.
Who's going to enforce this?
We have a code enforcement officer who will be responsible for going along the beach. Obviously at the appropriate areas of the beach, right? And it really depends if you have obviously new construction coming in. A lot of this obviously will be caught during the review process to be sure that they have the proper sea turtle lighting. But of course, once something is built new, we want to be sure that they're, in compliance.
For example, the televisions that
Yeah.
they're in the units,
Yeah.
well, they're not going to like that.
That's up to the board. Again, if you don't want it in the ordinance, then you can make your recommendation accordingly.
Because that's inside their homes, private property.
Well, they could turn the curtain, but again, that's up to the board.
What else?
Well, I think it's an excellent point to have actually enforcement in view when we talk about this, because at the end, we really want to get this done. I was shocked
Yes.
by the Juno Beach data versus our data. That explains everything. We need to get a lot less light. I walk my dog at night, and to be honest, what's on here is not even bad because this was done in September. When I'm walking right now in a high season, it looks even way worse, including our own building. We are one of the people who are violating this. So
Yeah.
I think whenever we're talking about the rules, we should keep enforcement in mind. I think that's a good idea.
Mhm.
Regarding the lights, for example, if the 15 versus 45%, we just exchanged windows. Now they're a lot darker. They're storm impact glaze. It's not very bright in our apartment anymore, but I think it's 45. And I personally think 15 or 20 or 25, as great as it is for the turtles, you can't do that. We're still living in those buildings. So 45, I think, is a really good number. However, I think we can really enforce the lights. I mean, for example, we have yellow lights within our apartment because we're aware of the sea turtles. All year we're doing this. We have the LED lower lights. It's a little bit candlelight, fine, but I think it's just, we live on the beach. We have to do this. And
I
think we
think
need to
Juno
enforce it.
Beach has more parks than we do. If
I
you
agree. I
drive
think they
down
have less
A1A,
development on the beach. Yeah.
they have so many areas that are all public parks,
Yeah.
not
Oh,
condos. Oh, I'm sorry.
Again, Joanne Ryan. Joanne, would you mind coming up? Would that be okay?
You got it?
First of all, that was very well done. Excellent, Ingrid. That was awesome. Just to add from personal experience, I've been doing sea turtle nesting surveys in Highland Beach going on 14 years now. This is the former permit holder, Barbara, and Susie's been doing it for over 20 years. Speaking from experience, Highland Beach is much busier than Boca and Delray and Ocean Ridge put together. Last year, we had just under 2,200 crawls in 2.8 miles of beach here. So it's very turtle friendly. Highland Beach is very, very turtle friendly. But of those just under 2,200 crawls, 1,000, just over 1,000 nested. So a lot of them turned around and went right back out. There's a lot of activity on the beach at night. A 50-50 false crawl is very normal, but we had more than 50% false crawls last year. And speaking from personal experience, a lot of our hatchlings in certain areas of the beach, not all of, we're broken into 5 zones because we walk, we don't have ATVs. So some of where the private homes are, we have much better hatchling emergence. They go straight to the ocean. But in some areas where we have a high condo count and by the Delray Sands, I literally have had hatches go west and go under boardwalks and under paddle boards and into the vegetation. And last year alone, I probably walked and picked out 25 of them, still trying to find their way to the ocean. And this was at 7 o'clock in the morning. So lighting is very, very important. I'm so pleased that we're addressing this now. And yes, Palm Beach County did come in last year and they did their own survey. They came out in the middle of the night and they staked out on the beach just to get an idea of what the lighting situation was like, because we do report any disorientations to FWC. It's part of my permit that I have to do that.
Thank you.
And I think what we have to consider, a lot of buildings do not have the 45%, right? So the ones who do not have the 45%, the old ones, I don't think we can enforce them to change their windows. That's too expensive. But what we probably can enforce that at least the lights indoors are so that they don't shine on the outside. Just some thoughts.
I would say that we can more enforce them adding window treatments than we could changing the fixtures. So if they have windows that were installed, that are 60% visibility, we may be able to have an enforcement where they have to put up a film on the window that makes it 35 or 45%, whatever we agree upon.
So if we have a new ordinance that's more strict, How much time do they have to change this? Like if I lived on the ocean, I'd want some time, like 6 months, a year, less
The ordinance doesn't give a specific time frame.
to get the work done, right?
Right.
Well, when you get
It
a
depends
standard
what
like
you're-
code violation, what's the remedied time to correct it?
Jeff, can you know the standard code? I'm not sure. This is our building official, Jeff Remus.
Jeffrey, Miss Building Official, Town of Highland Beach. So typically with code cases, with stuff such as turtle lighting, we'll knock on the door. I'll have the code compliance officer try to get a hold of them as soon as possible. We typically give them, for something like this, 5 to 14 days to comply. A lot of the times when we do have issues with compliance, it's because the people aren't here.
Right.
All right, and it's a manager. There's been times where we felt we just wanted to go and unscrew a light bulb, but we can't trespass. So we typically give them a couple of days to comply. We try to be as proactive. It's difficult to get phone numbers of owners. But that's, kind of where we're at as far as that. We give them as little as time as possible, but within the minimum amount that the state statutes mandate that we give them. Typically it's 5 days. We can't give people any less than 5 days unless it's a severe like health emergency. Then it's a little bit different.
I know this is. The gentleman would like to make a comment. He's been very patient.
Actually, I was David Newman. We live in the townhouses, which is in that area where apparently there's a lot of problem. And a couple of questions. One is, when do the sea turtles, what time of the evening do they typically come in? Because that's earlier in the evening is when people are watching TV after midnight. Most people, my neighbor watches basketball till whatever, 2 a.m, but most people will turn off their lights at a certain point.
I think the timing doesn't really have much of an impact because the hatchlings don't just choose to what time they wake up and crawl out, and it's the hatchlings that
Oh, it's a
need to
problem with the
determine.
hatchlings rather than the,
Because the hatchlings see the moonlight reflecting on the water, and then that's where they want to swim to. So if
Right.
they see a stronger light to the condos or to the west, they're going to turn around and go in the wrong
so
direction.
which time do they typically hatch?
There is no specific time.
Right.
They could hatch at 7 p.m. at night or 7 a.m. in the morning. So
Right.
that's why most of these ordinances go from dusk to dawn.
Now, why would it start before they start hatching? Because like they're not, there's no hatchlings right now. There's no eggs right now. So does the season start when the turtles start coming in, or is when the hatchlings start?
Yes, the
coming in?
season starts as soon as turtles start landing on our shores,
Okay.
correct?
So why would that be a problem as far as the light, since if it's not affecting the big turtles, you're saying them.
Well, the big turtle,
Mamas they don't.
the
get
big
this
turtles won't land on our shores if they think there's too much light
I see,
as well.
I see. Got it. And they could land at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night. So because I've seen them on the beach like at 1 or 2 in the morning, but never.
Yeah,
That would
I
be
think,
great. Thank you.
Joanne Ryan would be helpful at this
Thank you.
point. Thank you.
So there's a bumper sticker. I'm sure you have all seen it. Sea turtles dig the dark. So turtles come in as soon as it gets dark. I've seen the mother turtles come into nest as early as 9 o'clock, as soon as it gets really dusky out. And hatchlings, they will hatch when they feel it's safe. When the temperature of the sand drops and it feels cooler, they know it's a safe time. So even on a really rainy, cloudy day, if there's a condo blocking the sun, they can hatch. I've seen them hatch. I've seen live hatches at 6 a.m. in the morning, and I've seen them actually like 5 o'clock in the afternoon on some occasions. So it's a twofold thing. We have nesting season starts March 1st. And March 1st, it doesn't mean they all start coming in and starting nest. It comes in phases. The largest of the species is the early nester. They'll come in usually sometimes as early as mid-February in some cases. And they end their nesting usually by June, mid-June, they're done. Loggerheads start coming in hot and heavy around April, and that's the highest count of the species that we get here, and they'll nest all summer long up until August. And hatches start approximately 45 to 55 days later from a nest. And then the green turtles, they're the second largest of the species. They come in, usually they start around June, and they can finish as late as October. So October 31st is our cutoff. March 1st it starts. We start going out there and we monitor the beach. Basically, we're stretching our legs, getting used to it, getting our supplies together. By April, we're marking the loggerheads. By June, we're marking the greens. By mid-June through September, we're marking new nests and documenting hatchlings. So this is the time frame that it's very busy all summer long. And I did want to add one more thing. Code enforcement here has been awesome. They're all 20 of our sea turtle monitors that are out there will report any lighting issues, any disorientation, and Barb's been really great as a go-between, emailing Jeff, and they're on it like right now. So that's pretty much, we've been monitoring the lighting situation because we're out there early where it's still dark. If there's any glaring lights, a lot of times it's new construction. There's painters in there. They left the lights on all night long, or somebody went out of town and they left lounge chairs all over the beach. So these are all, it's obstructions and it's lighting.
Thank
Did
you.
that answer your question?
Okay, so from the responsibility that's been put us on the board as to review this and provide feedback, did everybody take a look at the state of Florida model lighting ordinance for sea turtle protection that Ingrid sent us a while back? Because that's where this came from. Correct me if I'm
Right,
wrong.
but you have to look at the ordinance that's before you, which has been modified to address the towns.
But everything that you are referring to in the definitions and so-called, and every time Ingrid was referring back to where this all came from, that is where it stemmed from, or correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
Yes, so that was my point. That was the foundation. So we are tasked with taking this, starting from a foundational point, looking at the edits that have been made with the feedback from Gumbo Limbo and the other feedback from Florida Wildlife. We have been tasked then to look through, ensure that it reads correctly at this point in time so we can come back to the commission with any additional recommendations or looks good as is. So we all agree that's what we understood our task is at this point.
Yeah.
So I would move that we assign or just accept the responsibility to take this from here because we have other items on the agenda we need to discuss. And can we look at it on our own and come back to you, or you want this done now?
This
So
this
we're
is an
going to take the
item on the
time.
agenda where the
Mhm.
board's supposed to make a recommendation. So
So you want us
You
to
need a
sit here now and go
recommendation.
through,
yes.
understood, so
Yes.
that we need some time now to sit, because I would like to look through. You did a fantastic job of summarizing this very rapid fire. But I don't feel comfortable to just say, go. I want to just take a couple minutes, or do we all want just a couple minutes, or is it just me to just at least take a look through this?
Well, you can discuss it, but I believe the agenda was routed, when was it? Janelle?
Friday.
Friday. So again, you can by all means discuss it and then come to a consensus and do a recommendation, various recommendations as you wish, but we need a recommendation. That is the point of having the item, on the agenda.
And I
today.
see that
Yes.
was on the agenda, but we were not am I to understand correctly that we were not provided all this information prior for review to come here?
Yes, the agenda was routed last
Yeah, I
Friday.
saw the agenda, but I didn't see all the
The whole packet
attachments.
was routed on Friday.
Okay.
Yes.
Apologies that
No
I did not
worries,
see the
no worries.
complete 60-something page packet. Okay.
So it may be helpful. So we have two sections where codes have been changed with bullet points. So it may be helpful for us to just kind of just go through the bullet points
Right.
and approve it or
Okay.
move on to the next one. Do we want to change it, make recommendations to the town commission and so on?
And maybe while you're reviewing, I did read the ordinance with my legal background. I took the liberty to read all 50 pages. I read the ordinance, the state one, and the suggested changes. I personally think it's an awesome piece of legislation. I think it was very well done. The comments were, so for me, in my view, they were impressive, very impressive. And my only takeaway was, so my recommendation to you and to the board would be to accept it the way it's drafted as it is. My only small concern would be that we would not comply with one of the recommendations that was made by Florida Fish and Wildlife, which is the 15%. And that was the point that I made earlier. I think this is too stringent. This is too much a limitation of our property rights on the beach. And we can mitigate that with other means, like you suggested, any window dressing, or we can have some rules on the TVs and other lights. But other than that, I think, and it was already suggested that we keep it at the 45% that other towns are doing. I think we can, I think it's an amazing legislation and we should pass it. However, I have one point, again, being a lawyer, what I think is lacking is how the town is actually enforcing it and the timing, because this is new legislation, obviously for current code infringements. I'm totally would suggest that we keep doing whatever you've been doing for 5 days. But for new code violations, because this is a new ordinance, we should probably give property owners, I don't know, 3 months, 6 months to implement the new legislation.
I'll add something to that. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So people aren't going to have to change their windows as a result of this. It's when they actually do change their windows that we're going to have to catch that in the plan review process during the permitting process. When there are violations such as lights being left on, problems like that, we work with people and we have the ability to sometimes make it 5 days, sometimes make it 30 days. It depends on what they have to do. We have to be reasonable about our expectations. Most of the time, we're very fortunate that the staff over here provides us with all the complaints and we act on them that day. We come in the morning, we see them and we act on them. If it's something we can get taken care of immediately, we do. And if it's something that's going to create a bigger problem, that's going to, maybe someone has to make some changes with lighting inside the home, we give them time, 30 days or longer. They can always ask for extensions before we take them in front of the code board. I appreciate everyone meeting on this. This has been a really long 3 years, to be quite honest with you. Ingrid has done really all of the heavy lifting on this entire project, because it was 3 years ago that I promised Barbara that we would replace our lighting ordinance. And it took even some time just to get it on the agenda with the commission. So this is why I'd appreciate whatever comments and support you have today so that we can move forward, so that we can get this on the agenda with the commission. Does that answer?
Yeah, thank you.
If I just may add to Ms. Nestle's comment about enforcement, just in case you didn't see it, but we currently have an enforcement provision in the code right now in terms of sea turtles. If you go to page 29 of your packets, you'll see there's an enforcement penalty. It's broad, it's general, but you could see it's not underlined text because it's already existing. Granted, it's general. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. It's page 29 on the bottom, letter
Enforcement.
L. Yeah. So we currently have that in the code.
Okay. I think we should assist Ingrid in coming up with the proposal at this meeting so that they can use it for their strategic town planning that they've been working so hard to finalize for 2023. So I like that comment about going along with the other towns at 45%, I think it was, and taking into account what Gumbo Limbo has brought us. We should come up with something at this meeting. If we need a little time to discuss, that's fine too. 45 or less. The wavelength being the red and the warmer colors instead of the blue lights, the white lights. I agree with that 100%. The furniture that's left out on the dunes, they can't do that. The workers that come in and leave the lights on, that's a big problem. They should get a penalty, the homeowner should be in charge of that. The TVs, people put their TVs on the walls at a certain spot, then they should put a window treatment during turtle season. What else can they do?
Yeah, I agree with the TV comment. I think it's a little harsh saying you have to move your TV because
Right.
most people, they have structures in the walls and it's really
Yeah.
difficult. And it's kind of really going to their private life. But yeah, the window dressings probably. So with the TV, that would mean that we leave it as suggested, but we go back to the state ordinance and do not add the televisions.
If that's your recommendation.
I mean, that's just an idea.
I mean, what we could do, so you have a few ABCs under that ordinance.
Yes, page 29, I was going to get to that, like that, there, it's already written out for you there.
Yeah, so instead of adding televisions there, under bullet C, we could, the last line, it says use opaque shades or room darkening window treatments to shield interior lights, comma, televisions, comma, other
Lamps.
interior fixtures
Yeah.
from the beach.
That's an excellent,
Lamson is in letter B.
Okay.
it's an excellent.
There
So
it
it's
is.
saying to rearrange lamps, televisions, and other movable fixtures away from the windows.
Right, so let's remove the televisions because we're not gonna ask people to move anything in their interior, but we can use bullet C to say, okay, just to shield those objects from the beach.
Shield.
And then we can actually add the word television and, because it says interior lights, we can just add a comma, televisions, comma, other fixtures that emit light.
Shield, all those items.
Right.
Yeah, so that way, I mean, that's, something I
You-
think
you're
we're
giving
very,
them an option of how
Yes.
to address the problem instead of
Yes.
saying you will go rearrange the interior of your home, which could seem intrusive, to suggesting ways that it could be upheld in a way that is beneficial. To include rearrange lamps or televisions and or in some way rearranging the language so that they feel they have options. They have a choice to rearrange or to utilize opaque shades or room darkening window treatments, so that there's two options in order to address that problem.
I
And
like
that
that.
the opaque shades, but also going back to that point of the time of day, should it be more specific as to when they should be utilizing the opaque shades or room darkening window treatments to counteract the light? So it's more specific.
Is there anywhere in this ordinance that tells you like a time frame of when this ordinance is in effect?
It's in effect when it's adopted.
So like, does this ordinance, you must comply to parts of this entire ordinance from dusk to dawn, or is it just 24/7 a day, 365?
Right, well, you have two-fold question. Page 30 tells you the effective date, which is again upon adoption. And then
Right.
you have the sea turtle season, right,
Mhm.
which is already in the code, and it's on page. Page 24. It says, and this is already in the code, we kept it. It's letter D on page 24. No, I mentioned it earlier, no artificial light shall illuminate any area of the beach which may be used for turtle nesting and hatching during the period from March 1st to October
There it is.
31st of each year, from dusk to dawn.
There it is.
Okay.
So we have the time frame.
So
We're giving them options.
I would make the motion to, as Mr. Joshua has suggested, to put televisions under C after the words interior lights, comma.
What
And
page? I'm sorry.
deleted in letter B.
I got to go back to the page. Where was that?
That was page 29. So then we have the same impact, but it's less stringent on the owner of the beach property.
Exactly.
I think that was an excellent idea.
I agree. We're trying to accomplish two things,
Because
help the environment and not make the owners think, oh, what's going on in Highland Beach? All these crazy laws in the interior of my unit,
right.
So we're working with everyone.
Oh, Joanne, I'm sorry, would you mind coming up to the mic so we can hear you for the record? Thank you. No worries, thank you.
Bob just brought up a good point. I mean, 90% of the problem is exterior lights.
Okay.
Somebody's TV up on the third floor is not gonna really affect too much. So, But, you know, a lot of the homeowners, when they see us out there, they have a lot of questions. And when, if we do mention the lighting, that some of them will say, I draw my drapes at night. You know, some people don't want to do that, but, you know, any bright white light is really the problem.
It's good to know it's 90% of the problem. Oh, that's
Average,
good
yeah,
to know.
because it's mostly exterior lighting.
That's great.
And the amber lighting, you know, all the other towns have really incorporated that amber lighting, and, you know, a lot of parking garages are very bright, and that's what causes that disorientation. Because a turtle is going to go for the brightest source of light on a natural beach. That would be the horizon over the ocean. It's not necessarily the moon, because the moon's not there every single night, but it's the brightest source of light. So you go out to a natural beach at dark and you look around, and over the water is the brightest area. I mean, we have sky glow here from all the car dealerships. There's a lot of artificial light.
So thank you very much. If you have a question, please come up to the podium.
It seems like the brightest lights are these top lights. I mean, some kind, you know, people like to have these big lights. Some, they have like 1,000 lights per square foot or something. I mean, they're just covering the ceiling with these bright lights. I don't know why exactly, but I think people just like to.
I think
like
middle
bright
units that don't have as much light as an end unit will use more lumens.
Are these a problem? Are these top lights more of an issue than the ones that you see in the, yeah, right in the.
So if you remember the screen that we had, the different percentages show up. So no matter how many hi-hats you have shining in a third floor apartment, if the amount of light is shining through their window at different percentages, that's the issue that we talk about, the 45%, 10%, 15%. So where they have 1 or 30, if it's bright enough to emit more than 45%, then it's a problem.
And does it matter how high it is in the building?
No,
I guess on the 5th floor, the 10th floor? No?
nope. Anything that's visible from the beach can cause an error in lighting.
And so what is there a problem with those?
Well, it's actually what's illuminating the beach.
I'm sorry, Joanne, would you kindly come to the microphone? Thank you. We want to keep your expertise on record.
Okay, so Barb just said Kurt Rosenko, who used to run Gumbo Limbo. I said anything 6 floors and up, right? Above 6 floors would not affect. So basically what you're looking at is you're looking at artificial white light illuminating the beach. So anything that's really shining on the sand for especially the hatchlings, because they're going to crawl out of a dark hole and see a bright light and go right to it. So I would say, you know, if it's all depending, I mean, people that keep these lights on for a certain amount of time, I would hope don't have them on from, you know, midnight to 5 in the morning. I would think they go to bed and shut them off. So
So can I clarify that? So if we have an uplighting, so you're familiar with uplighting on the side of a condo, you know, that basically lights up the whole building. If the light doesn't go past 6 floors, it's not a problem.
well, that uplighting is starting from down here though, right?
Right.
Yeah, so that is a problem. It's what.
But if an apartment, somebody's living in the 6th floor and they turn on their kitchen lights and it's 100% opaqueness, it's not a problem.
It's
That's-
less because
gotcha,
if you
okay.
go above, the higher you get, the less likely it's gonna be hitting the beach,
I
right?
understand. Thank you.
If I may add to that conversation, just to make it very clear to the board, on page 24 of your packet, there's an applicability section, letter C, and it says that these regulations apply to all properties within the town that may produce artificial light directly, indirectly, or cumulatively visible from any portion of the beach. And then on pages 22 and 23, you have the definitions of what indirectly visible means, what fully, light directly and cumulative, those are all defined. So I just want to make sure you're all clear that this is how the regulations apply. That's the applicability. If you could see it from the beach, it's a problem, right? So it has to be addressed.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, let's get a little more,
You have a
organized
motion on
here.
the floor, but you can continue the discussion as you see fit.
so up to chairperson, but would you recommend just going down the bullets?
I would. I feel that based on Ms. Nettles' evaluation from her legal background and knowing that this came from the state with feedback from experts at a state level and a local level. Knowing Ms. Allen's work that she's put into this over a 3-year period of time. I'm open if we want to go bullet by bullet, but again, I'm the one who brought that up, but now hearing again where this has come from.
Well, I think there's a few bullets that were
Yeah,
not
we have-
added to the ordinance that need to be discussed.
Yeah.
Is that
If
correct?
you wish to make a recommendation, yeah.
Okay. So.
If you want to accept the ordinance as is with the exception that you provided, I mean, that's fine as well. It's really a lot of wiggle
the
room
only,
to approach it.
I mean, personally, the only changes I would like to see is a more stringent compliance during nesting season. So if we are having an enforcement problem while it's nesting season, and I know Jeff had mentioned that, we may give leeway for 30 days to change a light fixture or something. I think that's too lenient during nesting season. So if there's a problem with a light fixture exterior, and code enforcement needs to have a more strict timeline to get something done during nesting season.
And that's a great comment, but again, for the ordinance, which is more general, I mean, that's more for internal, right?
Okay.
For a staff. And obviously our building official is here and I'm sure he's, obviously listening to what you're saying. But as far as the ordinance, I don't know that we would put that kind of detail. I mean, it's up to the board. Right? It's
Okay.
up to you if you want to add that. kind of
And I'm sure
detail.
they understand the magnitude of those changes during season. So,
Well, I think from a legislation perspective, I think the wording is good as it is because it's then up on the building department how quickly they can actually enforce it. And I think it's pretty obvious that during nesting season, they will enforce it much more dramatically than say if it was right now in January. So I think we can leave the wording as it is in terms of enforcement.
may I ask, have the three of you read the changes and the agenda?
I have not.
Okay.
It was emailed, I believe, Joan, you had seen the email. Yeah, yeah. It's pretty much the same except for some of the changes that we made. Right.
Okay. Is there anything you feel is missing?
Yeah.
Joan, if you wouldn't mind.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I think Ingrid really did her homework here. She's very thorough. It's awesome,
That's good to hear.
Thank you.
I make a motion that we,
Wait, I believe there is a motion already. Is that correct,
okay,
Janelle? Okay, I thought there was a motion made. I apologize.
there's a.
It,
motion
just 1 second.
already. No,
Is
there is a
there,
motion.
is
So-
there 1 second before you make a
Yeah.
motion? Is there already something in there that talks about the percentage of light transmission in the ordinance?
Yes, I'll give you the page number.
Okay. There it is, page 25,
Under tinting, I believe. Yeah.
page 25, number 5, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, it's there. And then if you also go to the definition of tinted glass,
Yeah.
which is on page 44, 24 at the top, it's also there as well.
Okay, I see it. I agree with the Gumbo Limbo representatives that she's done a fantastic job. And I'm excited to see this pass.
Okay, so then at this point, we'll go back to. Are we comfortable as a board putting together a motion to adopt the ordinance as presented to us today?
Yeah, I would like to make the motion. I've read the document. I think it's an awesome piece of legislation.
Do we need a second, Janelle, for the slight change we made
Okay,
earlier.
can we have a formal motion?
So we have to
in
make a
first and
formal
second?
motion.
Okay,
Formal motion with any exceptions that you want, okay? So,
so that was the bullet point that we changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the only exception would be to put the TV, that would be on page
Back on page 29.
29. We would put the TV from B to C to letter C.
so just to provide, I'm going to make sure it's clear. Actually, that would be section 4-8, J2C. You want to add after the word lights, you want to put a comma televisions, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then you want to remove from B the word television, is that correct? Okay.
Yes, that was.
Yeah. Otherwise,
Do we want to add televisions and other light emitting devices to be more generic? You know,
Like-
it could be a computer screen. Somebody may fight over a television versus a computer screen. Yeah, television is just a very specific word. So
mhm.
Why don't we say screen, any
Light emitting screens.
screen,
devices.
including television?
Screen or
Including
device, yeah.
televisions. That's it.
I'm sorry, what was the final?
Light emitting screens, including televisions and computers. How's that?
Excellent.
Perfect.
That takes care of that?
So do we have a first or second motion to?
So the
We have to
motion would
restate
be
the whole thing.
to approve the proposed ordinance with the proposed changes.
Gotcha. So I motion to propose the approved ordinance with the proposed changes.
Second,
All in favor? Say aye.
I,
Aye.
Opposed, say no. It is approved.
Thank you so much to everyone. Really, really great work. Thank you.
I like to see that smile.
as
was
a
looking at you
resident
too,
right on the
at the moment.
ocean, does this mean that you're gonna have some hardships or anything from what we just did? Complaints, hardships? Complaints? Could he go to the speaker's podium and voice what he just said? That's okay.
In terms of complaints, I think that people that live facing the ocean in these condominiums, in the condominiums, a few of them will complain because they think that they're more important than the sea turtles.
Exactly.
It's also, you know, it's obviously a compromise. I mean, we all live on this planet together, but people don't appreciate animals. Some people don't. So there'll be some complaints, but that's life, you know.
We appreciate your support
I'm
of
all
our
for it. I think
board
it's great.
and what we're trying to
Yeah,
do
of
for
course.
our beautiful
Yeah,
town.
we love the sea turtles and I have an issue with human beings. And I don't know if you're the group to raise this, but the leaf blowers
Oh,
are just they're a horror.
That's a whole other
I
topic.
brought it up at the commission meeting and I said, you're pushing it under the rug, this issue. And no, we're not pushing it under the rug. We just have to go through this whole process. Well, it's already been passed in a number of cities around the country. It's
no, they're addressing that
Yeah.
right now.
Oh,
The
good.
town commission. Oh, yeah,
I'm glad to hear it because it's a blight, and, you know,
it's being addressed. You
Yeah.
can be
you
sure.
can hear.
But yeah,
you
that's
appreciate
another
the
item
pollution
altogether, but it is
the
being
spread.
discussed.
I mean, it's-
I'd like to move us along if possible and thank again all our members that showed up in support of the work that is being done from the commission, our local representatives from Gumbo Limbo, from Ms. Allen, and just with the concern, yes.
We just have to clarify one thing. We're not with Gumbo Limbo.
Oh, you know,
No. We are the Highland Beach Sea Turtle Volunteers. We've been around for 25 years. In fact, last year, the commission invited me to do a presentation here on what we do. And I did a whole photo video of everything we do out on the beach. And I would love to share it with you guys sometime when you have the time. But yes, we are our own entity. We work really closely with Gumbo Limbo, and Gumbo Limbo is awesome, but they're employed by the city of Boca. And we are all strictly volunteers. We're all professional people or retired people that have full-time jobs, some of us, and we've been doing this for a very long time. So
So that takes me as a great segue into where I wanted to wrap up, because again, in absence of knowledge of that, we make assumptions, we move forward. And my point being, are there going to be people who are upset or angry with what we're putting forth? But it is always something, and hence why we're having a March 1st educational outreach night about dune restoration. It has to start with education. So even like an aha for me, and I know people who work alongside you in my own community, but I'm walking around with background knowledge that's incorrect. And as we hold on to our incorrect background knowledge, that's the world we create. So how we can continue to work even as a board, not just on pet initiatives, but working with already existing things that are taking place in the community and working with other individuals. I had lunch with a community member who's very passionate about different things in beach raking on the beach, but coming together, because it's when it's disjointed and we're not working and collaborating together and fully knowledgeable. It's a lot of people doing a lot of work, but there's not the power of coming together. And again, creating the knowledge amongst the community so that they step up. And I'm not sure how I feel about moving my TV, but I understand why. If we
Exactly.
can create the trust and the education and the understanding, there's less apprehension and there's more individuals willing to step up. So
Oh, absolutely. And we're all about education, even though we're just volunteers. Not all of us have a biological background, but we're very, very educated in the turtles, and we do like to impart our knowledge. And anyone that lives here in Highland Beach that would like to come out with us on a sea turtle walk any morning this coming summer, you're all welcome. And I am in the process. In fact, Barbara, you said you were an attorney. I'd love to talk to you. I want to start a 501c3 for Highland Beach and really put us on the map and start fundraising for our program.
I would encourage yourself or the rest of your team we do have 2 board openings.
We do. We have 2 vacancies.
So please submit your
The
application.
Preservation Board.
This
Yes.
board right
This
here,
board,
Okay.
yes.
we need 2 more people. Oh, good.
Yeah, Susie's awesome.
And we're easy to work with.
But yeah, anytime you guys want to talk about the turtle program or talk about, we're
Oh,
available.
excellent. Thank you for coming. And just to let everyone know, as Nicole said, March 1st, 6:00 at the library. It's going to be very exciting. We have guest speakers to let the homeowners know on the beach how easy it is to work on their dunes right now. Our beaches are wider than ever. This is the time to plant the sea oats and the scrub zone and the enhancements right now.
Mhm.
all right, so I'm going to move on then. We've done that work to board member updates on assigned projects. And we'll start with member Barbara Nessel.
Thank you. So I just have a couple of short points. The first point is we talked about the beach raking last time, and we were told that this has been come up a couple of times and that the town has very tight hands in terms of enforcement because it's private beach. The beach rakers are employed privately by the owners. So I have reached out to both beach rakers. I've sent them multiple emails. I've sent them my complaints. I've only got responses back from Universal. I have never gotten a response back from Beach Rakers, the Beach Raker company. And basically Clayton, he's interested. He wants to hear from me whenever I see a specific violation. I'm emailing him with pictures. I'm working with him. So it's a little bit slow, but at least with Universal, I have the feeling that as a private resident, I have a connection to somebody who's a little bit hearing. I saw a violation again this morning, huge. The residents have actually collected a lot of huge pieces of trash. But I can't report it. It was literally a couple of feet off the Highland Beach territory. It's in Boca. So I'm not going to go into details, but I keep working on that on a private level. I'm speaking to a lot of residents that I meet walking, and that they keep complaining when there is a complaint. So I think we just, as residents, have to, and maybe we should put that in the minutes, that the residents are very encouraged to talk to the beach rakers and email them and contact them and file complaints with the companies directly.
So what recommendations would you have, Barbara? Because it can't be just you continuously going out and looking for violations and making these reports. So what would be next steps that the
So-
board as a whole, or how could we utilize our website? Again, this has been an ongoing discussion. It was even put forth last year.
Right.
We should utilize in some way the open contact on the website to report violations, because that was always a problem of how, if we
I
are the
think that's an
citizens
excellent
walking
point.
along, how do we report? And there is a very passionate individual that I had lunch with last week, Mr. Robert Paddock. This is a big thing for him, a big thing. And I appreciate his passion, but the same conversation again of it's been brought forth, we've talked, you were here at the meeting, but what can we do as individuals and not one individual taking on all this work
So-
passionately?
As I said, I think we should really, really but encourage residents to complain with the beach raker companies and maybe have their contacts, and that's for discussion.
What
maybe
are the
even on
company
website.
names so we can put it on the record? What are the names of the companies?
So you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I have them in an email. I know I had emailed them to
Okay.
Yeah.
board member Nessel. Universal. Let me look it up real quick.
Yeah, so one is called Universal, Clayton is the person responsible, and the other one is called Beach Rakers.
Okay,
Um,
there you go.
so basically, we could even publish at least the names of the companies,
That would be
because
fantastic.
that's just, that makes it easier for
Yes.
people who like to complain.
And in the manager's minutes, we should add it.
Yes,
You know, if
Alright.
you have a complaint about what there's being done to clean the beaches, the raking, here are the names of the individuals. They'll be hearing from you.
Is there a more amicable way of dealing with this than,
Then that,
than constantly complaining to a company who no longer wants to work for our beach, and then we have nobody that's available to rake our beaches? So,
okay, you're right. An individual on the board will, such as Barbara, is the contact person.
Well, no, I'm not saying that is, you
Are you-
only have so many workers that are willing to take a job like that.
I
Okay.
agree.
So if
You're
you
right.
get too many complaints, that worker is probably not going to want to work anymore.
I agree. I didn't
So
think that
at what
far.
point are we complaining too much that we have no more people raking our beach? So is there a better way to solve this problem?
Have a board member or several board members and have an email address that's, for us as a board.
I think this is an excellent point, because practicability is another issue. And my recommendation would be, I'm cleaning the beach every morning, and it's usually between 7 and 9 in the morning, and my other residents who do that at around the same time on our dog walks. So our complaint is that sometimes the trucks have already been there and done their damage. And then we're literally digging in the sand to get the stuff out. If we could, and that's just up for discussion with them, again, this is not a town thing because we don't employ them. And just a question whether we could maybe have an ordinance saying that they cannot come before 10 o'clock in the morning. Something like that, just putting it in the room, because that would make life a lot easier and have fewer complaints, because we could clean up the small pieces before they come.
Before 10, people start going to the beach like,
But
Sure.
can we, if it's again,
Yeah.
private homeowners employing them, not that
Yeah.
it becomes that gray area? And I'm looking at Ingrid, again, we had this very deep, and Maggie, you were here, we had a very long detailed discussion. This was occupied a lot of meetings last year. But going back to again, and if we remind us what is and is not within our control as a board, and even within the existing ordinances within the town as it pertains to, was it under the nuisance laws, Ingrid, with trash that abuts after the mean high tide line and where the property lines are drawn? Like it all becomes, I don't want to use the word convoluted, but it does become convoluted at some level of who owns what and where, and even individual property owners contesting present evidence that they feel they even own to the water itself. So not that it's not a problem, but instead of the continuous reporting, complaining, again, back to the work that you do, walking the beach. And this, I think, ties back in when we get into a discussion of additional bucket trees. What can we do to educate, encourage individuals, and also put out there what beach raking companies have promised to do, because they have even signed, not with the town, but with the individual homeowners. If you review what the contracts are that they've put forth and given to homeowners, that they're picking up down to the size of a cigarette butt. Okay, I'm sorry, I giggle because that's not happening. It's not happening. But that's even what's been written into their contracts with the individuals that they're contracting with. So reviewing of the contracts, what do we see, not see, doing an evaluation, encouraging people to continue to get out there and be eyewitnesses. Not like, again, I feel it's semantics, but not, and utilizing words like complaining versus concern to how do we come together again as a collaborative group of educated residents instead of showing up angry and pointing fingers and complaining. So all that process, but a lot of energy was spent on this last year. And I'm not saying it was rectified. The individuals that you're talking about came and spoke to us and it was back and forth a little bit. And I do remember the mayor even getting down to just at some level demanding stop with the ruts. That was the biggest thing that came out of that too. But when it came down to how and what to pick up the trash and how to remove it, since there's no direct access points and where can they take it, there was a lot. And maybe we even need to review that meeting in itself and the minutes from last year and what was done. So it's not reinventing the wheel, but.
So maybe we should start with the bigger fish, the big homeowner associations. If they put pressure on the beach rakers, they own most of the beach. They have more pressure because it's more residents represented. So how about when we approach the homeowner associations regarding the trash cans, we can also at the same time have that discussion with them.
One
And have a
thought,
friendly relationship.
one thought, since we're getting our own fire department,
Mhm.
could we get our own tracker as a fund and
But it's back to you.
it's a fund, it's like the water and sewer, you charge the resident.
These are private beaches here in the town, so
They could use the Highland Beach facility or no, quick.
no, the town manager has made it clear that the town is not in the beach raking business, so.
Okay,
Again,
Understood.
each property owner contracts with a beach raker. And to Ms. Nestle's comment about possibly having a time frame which when beach rakers can come, just be mindful, maybe you've already looked into it. I have in front of me here one of the permits from the Florida Department of Environmental Protection for one of the beach rakers, and there's pages and pages of conditions.
okay.
So before the board would ever consider putting any kind of restriction on beach rakers, again, it's really outside your purview, but you have to really be mindful of the conditions that FDP, who manages the permit, because you may be in conflict with what FDP requires as part of their permit condition. So just something to be thoughtful
Okay.
of.
Yes.
Ooh,
Under the FWC permit that I signed a contract with, part of the contract is the beach raker. And from March 1st, 8 months out of the year, March 1st to October 31st, the beach raker is not allowed to rake the beach before 9 a.m. We have to have our surveys done and across all of Highland Beach before he can set foot on that beach. So that's just, I wanted just to let you guys know that.
And have you noticed that they do uphold that?
They do, and I have to say Clayton, he's pretty good. He's, very easy to work with. I haven't really had any encounters with the other company. But they don't do every single, I guess everyone pays for their own beach raking on some of the private homes. So like Bob Paddock, no raking there. So yeah, we're not allowed to mark nests there either.
That is actually very helpful. But I didn't know that, and I'm very much into the topic. I think that's a public outreach issue. I think we should, if the residents know that, we will get our act together and go there before 9 o'clock and do as much cleanup as we can.
And
Exactly.
those trash buckets I mentioned at the presentation I did last summer for the commission, I told them those beach buckets are awesome because we use them, we carry our own buckets, but all of my whole crew, they pick up trash on the beach every morning we're out there. But I see people at the hotel that are visitors grab a bucket and just carry it with them because let's face it, there's a lot of plastic out there. So, yeah, and that's a problem. That's a whole nother, don't even get me started on that, but,
How is your agreement written up for 9 o'clock specifically, like through those dates?
It's
Or is
not-
it something we can make that's like an annual, like year round, nothing before 9 o'clock?
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I just renewed the permit and it's just a box I check off on there. And if we see them out there and we're still marking nests, yes, you can't. They will be shut down for what, 45 days until a potential nest hatches. They won't be able to come back out there again. And I believe it's between him and FWC.
But that again is only during nesting season.
Yes, 8 months.
Yeah.
Which is 8 months, yeah.
But again, that's something that's in place that we can build on. And
Yes.
knowledge was not there to know when we're putting forth, can we put ordinances, and there's something already there. So putting that out, again, whether it's on the webpage, manager's minutes, reminder, the importance, and tie it in with bucket trees if we're going to do the work to increase their presence on the beach, and the times, why it's important, what we can do. And reviewing again, even as Ingrid said, some of the permit requirements, that if you have a concern,
Yeah,
like even down to the tire pressure, the PSI of the tires on the rakers is monitored in those permits. And those who contest that it's not correct, I wouldn't know to stare at a tire whether it's the right PSI. But if others are cognizant and knowledgeable as to what exists from
Yeah,
an
and that
educated point of
PSI,
view.
if their tire pressure is not low enough, it creates huge ruts on the beach that hatchlings actually get stuck in. It's like a mountain for them to climb to get across the beach.
As I noted, the mayor specifically asked for that and made that request very firmly
Yes.
last year. Please do something about the ruts and stop running, because that was a big part of the discussion when they came, when both companies were here to for a Q&A and to receive feedback.
so maybe we should amend the website, and that would be something for maybe Tampa and Alan, to just add that do your best to clean up the beaches before 9 a.m. Use the buckets before and collaborate with the beach rakers. So it's a positive message. We're working with the beach rakers. We're picking up trash before 9 a.m. if possible.
And I see again, sir, that you have a comment.
Unfortunately, I'm one of the irate people when it comes to the beach rakers. I've talked to Clayton. He doesn't return my calls anymore. He's not cooperative. They've tried to get them to put their signs so that you can identify who has a tractor, and they won't do it. I mean, so let's call it for what it is. So you're gonna have they should be called the beach rapers instead of beach rakers, because they're making the beach look like a racetrack. Maybe they're beach racers, but I look out on the beach every day, and the tide comes in, it's beautiful. Then they come through in these big tractors and putting these big ruts all across the beach. It's every day of the week, even Sundays. It's outrageous.
So you live near the Delray Sands?
Yes,
So whoever's doing that part over there will help him out by saying something on his behalf.
So what I understand though, Barb, you've had positive communications with Clayton, and
Yeah, slow down. I think I'm probably becoming
they're
what
putting
you
the
are
ruts in-
already, but
the ruts again, as we,
so good, yeah.
so is there any way, even again, without looking at each little minute part, but it is important, the ruts are important from many ecological and just the destruction of the beach. That is in the permits that it specifically states, I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but the PSI, the pressure per square inch and the size of the tires is what creates the deeper ruts.
Oh.
And again, we looked at all this as a board last year, and other proposals were made for different forms of beach raking and machinery to be used. I don't think we're going to get there, but maybe we can look at present and even asking him to confirm, like as per the permit from the state. And I do have that information, or it is available, or maybe Ingrid could send it. Can you confirm or show, like just in pieces, and to start establishing small entryways if we have a positive form of communication with him, but then if ruts are one place to start.
Yeah, so Clayton was cooperative in a way that he wanted me to send him what happened today, because I sent him evidence and he said, when was that, yesterday? I said, no, this was 2 weeks ago. So he kind of, I think he does the job himself. So I think he's positive and constructive in a way that if we email him the same day, then he will remember. But if you 3 weeks later send him a picture, it doesn't mean anything to him.
Hmm.
So I think he is responsible in that, responsive in that. Yeah.
Again, when taking pictures of the ruts, informing and comparing them against, can you show us what the machinery you're utilizing? What is the PSI, the current tires? And then that day, if we can, again, I hate to put you in the one person that's all responsible
happy to
for
do
this,
it.
but again,
I'm happy to do it
many of
during-
us do, like at Highland Beach Club too, we do monthly beach cleanups, we're all out there, but is there some way, and this was a conversation we had last year, is there some way, whether it's not just inundating one individual, but through our website to have, when you're walking and you collecting, if 4 people are walking and collecting buckets full of trash and they're making the claim that they're removing the trash, well, we have evidence that we can show maybe there's a disconnect for what you say is taking place and what we're actually experiencing, but where can we upload the supporting evidence is the hard part there. And
Well, in their defense, I had a couple of conversations with the ones in Boca who are sadly doing a better job. Sadly, from our perspective, good for Boca. So they said they cannot pick up all the little trash. I mean, that's not their job. That they can't do that. That's not feasible. They can pick up the big trash. And they said to me, they're getting off the tractor and they actually pick it up, but it needs to be a big, at least this is all probably even still too small. So the big trash they take, they say, and I think that's what we can enforce and demand. We cannot demand that they pick up all the little pieces like we do, because honestly, it takes them 1.5 hours for like half a mile or even less. So it's a lot of work. So I think we can demand the bigger pieces and the rots. I think those 2 items during turtle season, we have to be strict. And why don't we just focus on turtle season for now? Because it gives us, we have the legislation, we have their permits, which I would personally like to see. I haven't seen it yet. If do you mind sharing the license with us?
The permit for the beach raker?
Yeah, so that we see exactly what is the measuring. I don't know how many inches is it. What is the PSI pressure? All of that, we have that information.
Yeah, I could send it to you, but what is the consensus here? I'm sorry, there's a lot of points. I'm not sure if you're at a consensus yet.
We'd like to see the license or the contract with the 2 sea rakers, Universal, and the other one, to see what the requirements are for the PSI and the size of the trash, the time they come out during turtle season, any damage or things that people might be complaining about.
Yeah, I think number 1 is that we see the license so we know what are the requirements. And number 2 is that is the enforcement piece, which we can discuss here. I think we depend on residents helping, and that means we should probably do an information session or put something on the website. We can even mention it during the 1st of March event.
Right. But as he pointed out, too many complaints, they may not work for us anymore. Is that what you're saying, Josh? You had said something like that?
I'm just saying, if you become a burden,
Yes.
where no one wants to take your phone call anymore,
Right.
or you get an entire town that's complaining about the job that you do, you're not
Right.
going to want to work for that town anymore. So if we eliminate the beach rakers from the entire town, there may not be any other beach rakers to rake it all. So is raking a problem, period?
It's for the sea turtle season is, I
So,
suppose, the only thing.
Are
we're
we better
focused
off
on.
not raking at all?
No, we should rake.
So that's that's the point I'm trying to make is, I don't think we need to come at this from we need to tell 2 people that they're really horrible at their job
No,
constantly.
just tell them what we would like. Just like with a gardener, you say, hey, this is what I expect you
Sure,
to
but
do.
again, a gardener may say, I'm fed up with this customer, I'm going to go somewhere else.
There's a way of approaching people where they'll,
Correct.
Yeah.
And I totally agree that there should be, it come from a point person who's very knowledgeable and interacting with people, which
yes, she's very
Barbara
good.
is
Barbara's
excellent with, so instead of,
Yes.
so that's my point. That was
Okay.
making any suggestions.
I think it's a fair point. So why don't we make it a collaboration point? We ask the residents on our website in the meeting on March 1st, for example, just a suggestion.
Yes.
Please help our beach rakers, cooperate with them, try to pick up the trash before 9 o'clock. Do it for the sea
Exactly.
turtles. And make it a sea turtle thing. Connect together with the new ordinance. Help us. Collaboration.
Exactly.
March 1st at the library, 6 o'clock.
We'll get there. But in answer to your question as to where can we find this, it's right on, if you just Googled, I just Googled. And you come right to the page of Mechanical Beach Cleaning Guidelines, Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservative Commission. The Florida Department of Environment, DEP regulates mechanized beach cleaning under Florida Beach and Shore Preservation Act, Florida Statute 161. It's all right there. It's very easy to find.
So Florida statute.
161 under the
161.
Florida Beach and Shore Preservation Act. Because again, last year on this board, Meg, we looked at all of this last year. So coming full circle. And again, I don't want to be going down multiple rabbit holes, but just be cognizant as well, when it comes to beach raking, there are those who do believe it should never be done. And they'll get into very passionate discussion with their points of view. Then there is a lot of scientific research to support why it shouldn't, because of the CGASM and the benefits of the CGASM on as it pertains to local ecosystem and then drying it. So it's a much deeper, it was very deep discussion that we had about it last year, but
But I think
being
that is
focused,
why-
my point being focused on what discussion are we having this year and as it pertains, because we can't stop it. It is the private beach, the private homeowners, but what is our role this go round? And where do we as a board stand in what we can work on and support at this point in time from a collaborative approach?
And I think we can stress the great work the beach rakers do by actually not removing the seaweed, but raking it with the sand for the reasons that you mentioned, because it's part of nature. It's important for the ecosystem. However, that we like the residents to help, to work with the rakers and pick up trash before 9 a.m. if possible. Of course, you can pick up trash later too, but just most impactful. Because if people know that, I will make everything possible to do everything before 9 o'clock. If I know it, I didn't know it. I think that's really important to get that message out.
Okay.
I have to add that you have to be mindful for those residents that don't have beach rakers, that when you talk about cleaning the beach, again, it's a private beach. So for those people who don't have a raker, they don't want people on their property. I mean, you have to be mindful of these things. So when
Okay.
you speak in a very comprehensive way, well, the beach cleaners could make sure you go before 9. Well, we don't have a coordinated beach cleaning effort because they're private beaches. So
Okay.
just be mindful of that. I'll be happy to talk to the town manager about putting something on your website about helping the beach rakers to pick up trash before 9. Again, let's see what the town manager says and I can get some
Okay.
input back to you on that.
Okay.
And by the way, on the permit for the beach rakers, it does say this permit authorizes use of a vehicle with a maximum tire pressure of 10 PSI. And there are several conditions with regards to during the marine turtles nesting season, several conditions about that. They're long, but just want to throw that out there as well.
Okay, thank you, Member Nessel. Was that everything before I move on to Member Davison?
I'm assuming we're talking about the March 1 event with the presentation, everything later. Yeah, that's good. I'm just going through my list. The beach buckets, is that later on the list as well? Perfect.
Unfortunately, again, it doesn't say which updates we had, but I had that both of those under mine, and we can discuss collaboratively about those topics, but I had them under my updates. that I
That's
wanted to talk
perfect. And the
about.
food truck event that we hosted the table, you're going to talk about it as well, I guess, right?
Yep, that's
The food truck event we had in December. Perfect. Yeah.
So then, Member Davison, updates on anything to bring back to the board on assigned projects?
So I was asked to begin exploring a partnership with 4Ocean for collaboration on keeping our intercoastal waterways clean. I've reached out in late November, December, and I have a point of contact. They are very short-staffed and have a lot of communities and corporations that they are trying to work with. So at this point, it's kind of a holding pattern, so to speak. So I'll wait for an update until I have more information.
Okay, thank you for doing that work. Member Matthewman not present, Vice Chairperson Chapelier.
I'll keep it
Updates.
brief. I'll keep it brief. I'm Maggie Chapelier. And I just want to say once again, March 1st at the library, we're having a wonderful event. We have a guest speaker named Rob Barron, who I approached. He's helped me on my dune restoration assignment I had on the board, I think a year ago. There is a PowerPoint presentation on our website that I prepared, how the 4 or 5 easy steps for a homeowner to restore their dune or protect their dune, enhance their dune. And according to Rob Barron, who I spoke to a week ago, and I told him how beautiful our beaches were, especially the south end that gets more erosion. And he said, tell the residents this is the time to plant the sea oats and to plant the scrub zone. And we'll get more into that at our March 1st library event.
Thank you. Okay, so for some updates, I'm not going to repeat. We have a March 1st. I am. I'm not going to repeat. No, I appreciate that. But with regards to that, at 6 p.m., it is Mr. Barron. We saw what is going to be put into the manager's minutes, his overview. I was hoping that we'd have a county representative at that meeting. So I just wanted to clarify that and so we can discuss it while here. Unfortunately, I don't know for what reason, but I was not able to confirm or have contact confirmed that that individual from the county office would be able to participate. So it will be just Mr. Barron at this time. But I did hear from the Coastal Star, yes, Mr. Robert Paddock. After I received permission from Ms. Allen, as per the town manager, to reach out to the Coastal Star. On doing so, Mr. Pollock said that he would be present for that event so that he'd be reporting it. So we're going to get some good press. He couldn't advertise it. We'd already missed deadlines for getting it into the Coastal Star, but he will be present. And on a side note with that, he was interested as well in beach cleanup in Highland Beach. And he wanted, that there are the trashy mermaids in Delray. Why can't we have the same in Highland Beach? What are you doing? And again, just had to reiterate that point of view of it is a private beach. We can't invite outside members in since it is gated, but he is interested, Ms. Barb, in what work is being done. And we had to put a spin on it. Like, it's like, well, we've already reported so much on beach walk cleanups. Like, well, maybe it would be an interesting spin to get out and walk alongside, like Highland Beach Club, we go every month. There's other individuals of how do you approach when it is a situation like this, private beach? How do you establish trust, collaboration among residents when you're limited? What we're doing presently to address this. So he was interested in that possible story and looking at that further into the spring. But I want to transition then into the bucket trees and what Ms. Allen brought up to us earlier on in this meeting, and the idea that we were given permission by the town manager to take that responsibility on as the board, because there have been individuals, even including one of the commissioners, has asked for increased bucket trees along the beach. And that's going to require communication with the HOAs. Ingrid did a ton of work on behalf of the board last year in contacting everybody and who wanted one, who didn't. But we can now take that on ourselves. And I would like to put it out there that I'm happy to do that work, to do the communication. If I have the support of the board, I can receive the information and the lists that Ingrid had gone through, and knowing, because I had done some of the survey work, member Matthewman, Diane Matthewman is the one who got this project started. I'm really proud to work alongside the foundational work she did and keep it going. And so if I have the board support, I would love to take that project on. And Ingrid, you could just send me whatever I need to do so I can start making phone calls and working with or following up with
That would
homeowners
be great,
associations.
and I'm happy to help you.
Okay.
And I'm happy to help you as well. Because there's a lot of HOAs out there. And condo.
I'll be happy to send the list, but be mindful, if you do get some HOAs that do want the bucketry, then you'll let staff know, myself, and then I coordinate with the Public
Mhm.
Works Department to have it built, and then they go ahead and install it. In addition, we have a authorization form that each HOA needs to sign off on. That's been prepared. We've had it for a few years by the town attorney.
Yeah.
So that needs to come into play as
Yeah.
well.
And because I was the point person in my own community at Highland Beach Club next door, working with my property manager, so went through the process, so knew what hurdles you had to jump and how to even I had to make a presentation to our HOA board. It's not just, it is property managers who report to a board and the board has to approve, and there's things that need to be signed off. So having gone through it myself and just education, even how to maintain the buckets, what happens during the hurricane, because ours went missing for a while, but we got ours back. So I'd be, again, love all your support, but I want to keep that work going. And as we heard from members in our audience, say how beneficial they are. Okay, then to transition also over to the March 1st event, out of curiosity, just the individuals I have here who is going to be there can confirm participation. And as Maggie said, it will be Mr. Robert Barron, local expert in that area, who's done work even with the city of Delray presenting. And I just have a question as well, though. We've been promoting it. It will be in the manager's minutes. Ms. Allen, is it possible for the library to have it in their newsletter?
I
As
can
an
check with
event
the
or-
library, and I'll talk with Teresa Cueva. She does all of our email blasts, so we could
Okay.
do some sort of email blast.
And if I've received requirements from Rob about what he needs, should I put them through to you, or can I talk to the
just
library
send me an
directly?
email. Just send
As
me an
you-
email,
I
then
made
I'll
sure I
let
asked them.
staff know.
Yeah.
Actually, I walked over there yesterday. So they again told me just whatever, if he has a PowerPoint presentation,
He does.
what does he need?
Exactly. So I
make sure he
made
has it on
those
a flash
inquiries
drive.
yesterday and he
Yeah.
sent me all his requirements, and we can as a group here now are even right down to logistics of how you want the room set up. Is it just rows? Do we want tables? Is there anything we want to do where it would
Kind of
require
like they did that
interactive?
Marine auxiliary meeting in the room that they have the ballroom dancing, not the conference room, the bigger room, and just have the chairs set up and the PowerPoint.
So
to the-
rows or tape collaborative groupings or rows, I guess is my question.
I would just have the people.
Rows? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. With an aisle down the middle, right?
Mhm.
Like a
Like a
wedding.
wedding. Okay.
Okay.
And the former
That works.
educator in me, like, I like collaborative
And have them
groupings,
sign
but
in
that's
the
just-
back, the interested parties, and put
Nope.
their email address.
No, we will do all that. Mhm.
Yeah.
One thing that was brought up though, when Ms. Allen and I were talking, it is a concern, is parking. When is construction supposed to start?
Ooh.
Are we on target for construction?
You know, I've not been given an update. I mean, I
Okay.
know it was supposed to start, I thought initially now in January, but I'm not sure where we are. I've not been privy to those meetings, but
Okay,
yeah.
as again, I really am hoping for a good turnout, but what are possibilities for parking? Or if we are limited, or is there any recommendations? Do we ever work? Does the town ever work or with the church for overflow parking, or any possibilities? If it's a
yeah.
potential problem, do we have potential solutions? I guess is what I'm asking.
I could check with the town manager, but I will say based on the attendance that we had at the public input meetings, which were 3 meetings with regards to accessory marine facilities.
Mhm.
We actually did mailings and the most people we got were 15.
Okay.
So I'm hoping you have a lot of people, but just based on those public input meetings and the amount of outreach that we did, we had, as I said, very little turnout.
But
Don't
you had
anticipate-
3 separate meetings.
That's correct.
So if you add up, I guess,
Well, we had 15 on the third, 2 people on the second meeting, and the first meeting, maybe we had 12 or 13. I don't remember the exact.
but you
number.
did it during the holidays.
We did it during, we were initially going to do it in November early, but then we had the hurricane, so we had to go ahead and reschedule those for early December. The commission wanted the meetings to be done at the end of the year because they wanted residents to be in town. So we didn't purposely do them in the summer or like in September because they wanted residents to be here, the seasonal residents, which is why they initially wanted them in November. town manager was fine with doing them in early December. And again, because of the hurricane, they had to be in early December.
Right.
Okay, so I was
Okay.
just gonna take one last.
Can I just make one more point? Since there
course.
were a few comments about planting, now is the season.
Yes.
Let me also make the very important point for anyone listening. If you're going to plant anything on the dune, please reach out to the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. Keep in mind that the dunes are protected. There are certain plant species that are protected,
Mhm.
and you just can't go in there and start messing with the dune, stomping on the dune. You may actually impact current species that are on there. So I'm sure most of our residents who may want to go ahead and plant in the dune will get a reputable person to go out there, and we'll get the proper permits from Florida Department of Environmental Protection. I just wanted to make that point.
That's a very good point. And very important.
So as it pertains to, again, advertising the event so that we can maximize participation. So far, again, I've just made the request about the library. It is going to be in the manager's minutes. Is it possible, or can we look into, Ms. Allen, if it's can be on the scrolling top of the webpage, the Town of Highland Beach webpage, that can sometimes change as it scrolls, or even in the weekly email blasts that come out?
Yeah, I no problem. As I said, I'll reach out to Teresa Cuevas.
Yes,
She usually manages all those
Yes.
email blasts, and I'll talk to her about putting it on the webpage. It shouldn't be an issue at all.
that would be fantastic.
Did,
Like similar like you did the town sign, there was a lot of reminders on that. So I think something like that throughout February, so that people are being reminded.
are we able to, because I believe for the food truck events, there's a registration link that gets sent out. So is there a way to do that for this meeting where we can track, potential attendance prior to the?
That's a good.
I could talk to Teresa about setting something like that up, like an RSVP type thing.
Yeah, and maybe if we can decide, so a next question I had was deliverables and handouts. So something to entice people to come is, hey, register and get a blank.
What?
Exactly. So that's
No.
up for discussion. So, ways to entice people to come is obviously free stuff.
Wine and
So-
cheese?
But if we want them to register because we need attendance, but how do you get people to want to come? You need what are they going to leave there with besides education? And I'm not saying let's have a spend of thousands of dollars to get little trinkets, but what is our, and this is a bigger question, is what is the deliverable that we're going to have at the meeting? I don't have any ideas. Just open for discussion.
Let me think. I might be able to get another speaker, by the way. I'm pretty sure.
So that's another point that I wanted to discuss before we add on the time frame. We know we're starting at 6, and when we think about commitment from individuals' time and how much presentation, because Rob, he wanted to know exactly how much time he had. So if we had 45 minutes of presentation with 15 minutes for
I think
Q and
that's
A,
enough. I think
So,
people don't want to go right now.
do you really need 2 speakers and
No.
dilute? Because I would feel putting somebody at a disadvantage if they didn't have the planning time to
No.
know, here's what I'm going to be presenting, here's what you're going to be presenting. So
Well, this gentleman that I've worked with on the beach restoration, he's got his own website, and you go on it and it tells you what kind of plants work in what areas in Florida. He's worked with Rob many times. I thought, well, he would be an enhancement kind of
Mhm.
person, but
So-
we'll see. I'll let you
But
know.
knowing that, if they know each other, because
They
it could
do.
be.
They've
That
worked
then that
together.
changes, that's a paradigm shift then for me, and like,
He
okay,
was
because I
very
wouldn't want to show up as a speaker not knowing the
No,
other
no.
speaker, and like, how do we complement each other, whether competing for airtime?
They
So
work together.
If they work together, feedback
Yeah.
from other members.
Or it could even be 2 meetings. We have the March 1st one, and a couple of months later, we could have your speaker.
Okay. I will run it by Rob and the person. His name eludes me right now, but he has a wonderful website,
Okay.
and I wanted to,
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're going to add a speaker, or if you're going to have another presentation later on in the year, we need to have an outline from that speaker as to
Okay.
what they're going to talk
All right.
about. We can't just have like somebody randomly come and like nobody knows what they're going to talk
Okay.
about. Even though I'm sure they would be able to improvise and obviously they sound like they have a lot of knowledge, but I would like to provide the town manager with an outline.
I have walked
I
the
did.
beach with this person and he's shown me endangered little plants that do occur on our dunes right now.
Could that individual be again, I'm just brainstorming because
I'll invite
I
him.
see the wealth of information that you're suggesting they would have. But as it pertains to like the formality that we did and how I worked with Ingrid to put together the outline, so it's
Okay.
approved and it's understood, but that we could still invite that expert in, like, and
Okay.
advertise as experts are present at the end to answer any additional questions or provide, but giving
I'll
Mr.
get
Barron the
back to you
floor
on
for
that.
the presentation, but again, having an expert that if you so choose at the end, you can continually.
The reason
continue to
I
engage and
mentioned
discuss with
this
them.
was because of the Palm Beach County people not getting back to us.
No, but it's still, we still have a very solid, qualified.
Oh, I know.
rep-
No, we have a great
respected individual. So
seminar. We
it's-
do.
No, it's all, again, I'm a firm believer in obstacles or detours in the right direction. So it all fell into place the way it's meant to be at this point, but we could still invite that individual.
I think.
I think one of the questions that might probably come up is the permitting process and how long it takes. And given your point, very good point, it needs to be happening now, ideally. Could we be prepared for that question and say, this would be the person to contact for permits? It takes 10 days. This is the form that you need to fill in. This is what your landscaper would have to do so that we have an answer to the question.
So again, since Mr. Barron has done this work continuously, I'm sure he's very cognizant, very knowledgeable. When you Google his name, the amount of work, and Maggie, again, you're the one who brought him forth, so thank you. But he has done work on on county and city level, so he will be knowledgeable. But I can send it off an email to him, just like it was brought to our attention, and of course we know, and just reconfirm that will be addressed. Okay.
Very good.
Also, I could talk to the town manager. I'm sure it wouldn't be a problem to have some refreshments there. We can, when we do the email blast, we can add, refreshments will be provided.
Thank you.
Sometimes food entices people, not always. I've done a lot of presentations where we had food and nobody showed up, but I'll check with him and see if that's a problem at all to get some refreshments.
Okay, but I'm still.
I can help the board with the refreshment end of the program, like work with you all.
Just from other meetings we've done, usually the staff does that.
Oh,
Again, I'll
good.
talk to the town
Good.
manager. If that's no longer the case, I'll reach out to the board, but typically, like I said, for those recent meetings we had with the accessory marine facilities, staff took care of that. I just want to run it by the town manager to make sure that, budget wise, I mean, I'm sure it's not going to be costly, but want to run it by him first.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm still intrigued though, or you put something out there about what is the deliverable, what can we entice individuals from a creative marketing end, I guess, am I in alignment with your thinking? And even as I sit here creatively thinking, like, I can go very macro and get really excited, like, oh, these could be entry points of participation into becoming a certified Highland Beach resident with who cares, but can we even start with participation and you walk away with, whether it's a bumper sticker or something of, I care about our dunes, I care, like just something that demonstrates you did participate in a way as a resident and that we value you as a resident who's showing up to care as we're growing a team, like a collaborative community here, something that they can walk away with.
I've always had great success with raffles.
Okay.
So,
Ooh, a
uh,
basket, we'll put a basket together.
doesn't even have to be, could be, depending on,
Yeah.
if we even have a budget as a board, but it could be something as simple as
Would Four Ocean donate some their little cool bracelets?
possibly, but probably not in time for the
Okay.
meeting. It could be, a bumper sticker or something,
Could
I wish we
Gumbo
had our new
Logo
logo because
give a-
it would be great to have like new
Yeah,
Highland
let's see.
Beach kind of bumper stickers.
Yeah,
Do people like socializing? Could that be like drinks provided after the event? So we have a professional business event with just water, but then we have some champagne and some, I don't know, sushi,
Something,
whatever.
yeah,
That might get people.
I like it.
or
I mean,
I
I
like it.
think, we're on the same track of gift basket raffle registration link, enter your chance to, look, we want people to come.
Yeah,
But we also want the right people to come. So the right people are residents on the east side of A1A.
right.
So how can we entice our target audience to attend?
No, I have to think on it. I have to think on it.
Again, we're down to limited time and with.
Right.
As it pertains to how we can.
I like the
not
basket idea.
How we can and cannot communicate as. after
People
we
like
leave
to
this room.
socialize. I mean, all the.
Yeah, they
people,
do.
From my condo and the ones I know from other condos, they came because they like the food truck events. They like to
Oh, yeah.
socialize. They like to mingle.
So that can be part of how we move it out is come mix and mingle as you learn. I mean, that could be even how we're posting it. in-
I would
in the
I would
manager's note.
advertise it as a little bit more socializing, yeah.
This is very out there, but are
No,
any of
no.
the species of plants that are proper to be planted in front of homes edible?
Edible?
Wow.
I don't think so.
Mm.
No,
Okay.
no.
Why? Why do you ask? I'm really intrigued.
Like I
now.
said, this was out there, but
Oh, because we could have,
we could have,
Oh,
well, it's just a way to like get more familiar with your,
give them a beautiful plant.
yeah, I'm just saying, get more familiar, some ways to get
Okay.
more familiar with the type of ecosystem that we need you to have in front of or behind your homes. Doesn't have to be edible, but that was kind of the,
I have an idea, a book about how to, we could get it at Barnes and Noble, a book on how to make your landscaping more native. I'm sure they exist. I could find it on Amazon. There's beautiful books out there because they've been loaned to me by this person who's going to speak.
we can have an artist paint their home.
I
You don't
wonder,
like the book idea?
I wonder if Delray Sands would
Oh, there you go.
pony up a
Excellent
gift
idea.
card or something.
Latitudes.
That's what I apologize. I mean specifically that, but I'm back to something that it would entice individuals to attend. Again, we're under the gun for,
We need Delray
participation.
Sands to come.
but they are part of Highland Beach. So that's why, again, because my mind goes to going to Delray, the beach shops. Would you donate anything to put into a gift basket? But we're specifically targeting Highland Beach. So they're a local.
I will go
business.
to Delray Sands for you. I'm pretty persuasive
Do we,
sometimes.
do we have
Yeah.
a budget as a board, Ingrid?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so we could ask the town manager, could we have a $100 stipend to buy a gift
Or
card?
would
to-
Delray or would Latitude?
let's see if-
I would
Yeah,
love to
obviously
see,
take the free
maybe they
option,
would.
but
Yeah.
be
maybe,
somebody-
as a backup, let's go ahead and get a gift certificate to Latitudes, and then that could be
I can approach them
Way of
for you.
enticing.
I've done many ladies silent auction luncheons.
Let me discuss it with the town manager
Okay,
first before you
get back
approach.
to me. Yeah, I can do that.
My worry is if we spend, say, $1,000, I would rather spend it on people who really come for the cause and not just because of the $1,000 lunch or whatever they're gonna do.
Well,
So I would rather say, let's do socializing, spend $1,000 on sushi. It has seaweed in it, it has fish in it, so
Yeah.
kind of is a ocean theme. And then the right people come, and then we can.
And we can have Delray Sands cater it.
I think,
Yes.
Why
I think
not?
we're under the gun to bring off some, maybe I would say,
Pull it off.
oh,
Mhm.
but I'm looking at Ingrid as it pertains to,
Oh,
yeah,
look at Ingrid. and-
the feasibility and getting permission to pull something off of this magnitude where maybe we should have brought this up earlier, not.
Well,
to be
again, I'll
naysayer.
be happy to talk to the town manager what he thinks about
Yeah.
sushi.
Okay.
And if, say.
I guess
say-
you don't know till you ask.
But if the budget is a problem because we only have 4 weeks left, we could
Mhm.
just have them come and, I mean, people who live on the beach have money, it's not about
Yeah.
the $10 or $20 they pay for sushi. This is ridiculous.
Mhm,
We could just have them come and we can buy the sushi as we are there. We pay for it.
mhm,
The people who attend have credit cards. They can just buy the sushi.
mhm.
I don't know that we're.
Yeah, I don't think we
setting
can
up
get
money
into
and
that, into
all the
accepting
giant-
money.
the
That's like
nuance of
going-
money into, I don't know, we'd
Okay.
have to have additional staff there.
Mm,
Have the library staff that's there. I think the library's open late, for library
I-
type needs. So
I agree.
to set up money and yeah, it might be a little bit more.
So even if it's their catering, so we're paying them directly.
Okay, I could ask the town manager. Oh, you mean
So
somebody
they
from
would have a
whoever caters
stand?
it will set up a money box or whatever?
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
basically say Delray Sands caters it.
Just have a food truck and then they have to buy a food truck.
Now we're gonna get a food truck. I love it.
But a food truck is too big for this little event. But
Sure,
if
I
they have,
understand, but I don't know, I've never seen a catered event, like a cash bar catered event.
I don't think that's a good idea.
Okay.
I'll wait for Ingrid to get back to me and then I'll approach the Delray Sands
Twice.
and see what I could work out.
Okay, I'll talk to the town manager. see what his
Okay, you'll
thoughts
get
are.
back. Okay.
So as a temporary backup, since we only have 4 weeks,
Mhm.
can we, our motion, I'll go ahead and motion. Do we need, I don't know if I need to motion this
No.
at all, but can we just go ahead and try and get a free donation gift card for a meal at Latitudes?
Yes,
And if you cannot within the first 7 days, we'll see if the town will purchase one for.
I have to wait for her to
$50.
get back to me. Yes.
Yeah, and Ingrid said she was gonna speak.
We
And then
gotta
let's add a registration link to an email.
That we should ask for too.
And do we want to raffle it off or how do we want to?
I think if you're present, then you can have a ticket
Okay.
as you come in,
So-
but that's your enticement of.
How do we
a gift
draft?
Card
Is
would be.
is that something that Janelle's, and your team can draft the email or do we have to draft it and give it to you?
Yes, you as a board would have to come up with exactly what you're looking for, and then you can provide it to us.
Okay.
Are you talking about the email blast?
Like if we're going to send out an email for people to register for the event.
Because what we could do is we can coincide in the email blast with
Mhm.
a link. So we maybe kill two birds with one
Yeah.
stone.
Perfect.
So I know Teresa works her magic and I'm sure she may have a template that she already uses. And I'll talk to her about within that email blast, hey, if you want to register, click here. That type of
Exactly.
thing. Is that
So
what you're kind
We
of talking
also
about?
want to incorporate that there'll be a raffle.
Yeah, and we will incorporate that as well, as long as, yes, as soon as I get with the town manager, if he's on board with that.
Okay.
We can add that as well. Yeah.
Great.
Okay, so
Was there a motion?
Did I have to motion? That was, no. it
I don't
wasn't.
think we have to motion that, but to narrow in again, because we had a lot of things out on the table, do we still want to pursue the idea of making this a catered event? Or are we happy with keeping it just with a gift card? Or
When she lets me know, I will try to get
When
money.
Ms. Allen lets us know,
I
what would
will,
you like to, what do you want to pursue?
I want to see if they'll cater it, how much, or maybe not charge us. We'll provide the drinks, obviously, and maybe they'll give, an incentive for the raffle. I'll work on it. I mean, this is the only business in Highland Beach, and most of the
Exactly.
people that go there for drinks and all that live in Highland Beach. They know that. Yeah,
Okay, so we're gonna be waiting on Ms. Allen to get feedback. from
yeah,
the
she's
town
gonna get back
manager.
to me ASAP.
At minimum, we would hope for maybe in some form, permission to ask Latitudes for a gift card. At the maximum, moving forward with some form of a catered event, that would be our expense. We wouldn't be asking participants to pay for. Is that correct? As we zipped up and down. Okay,
I'll email all the board members.
Of course.
okay.
And you email us the HOA list so we can divvy up the,
Yes, I already have it on my list. to
Okay,
do.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
As it pertains to the bucket trees.
exactly.
So with regards to that, then Ingrid, I'm sorry, because we're jumping all over the place, but so if we're gonna step back and discuss the bucket trees. We would need to, in order to do that effectively, once we got the list, we would have to communicate with each other through you if we were divvying up the work and the calls. Is that correct?
Yes.
Mhm,
Okay,
As always.
it's clear.
Okay. Okay. So that I think concludes all our board member updates on assigned projects. Okay, so follow up on the December 15th, 2022 Town of Highland Beach Food Truck event. Was there any follow? We discussed the web results, as a or visit, excuse me, visits to the webpage as it pertained to our presence there. And we've got that data. Was there anything else we needed to discuss, or anybody had any updates on the food truck event?
No, just another thank you for the volunteers, and table looked great. Both of you did a great job.
And then we'll move on to item D, discussion on the Dune outreach meeting, which we already did as part of our, and we feel comfortable because I did that as part of my updates. It was an item, but I feel like we touched on everything, so we're good. Or any else?
Do we have more of the handouts that we?
I have more of the brochures from the county. That's
Okay.
one thing I do have from them, yes. Okay. Good, then I'll move on to announcements. On February 7th, 2023, 1:30 PM, there'll be a town commission meeting. On February 9th, 2023 at 9:30 AM is the planning board regular meeting. On February 14th, 2023, 1 PM, the code enforcement board meeting. February 20th, 2023, town hall will be closed in observance of President's Day. February 21st, 2023, 1:30 PM is the town commission meeting. Board vacancies that are presently, or that there are openings. Board of Adjustment and Appeals, there are 2 vacancies for 3-year terms. The Financial Advisory Board, 1 vacancy for an unexpired term ending April 30th, 2023, and 1 vacancy for an unexpired term ending April 30th, 2024. This board, Natural Resources Preservation Advisory Board, has 2 vacancies for unexpired terms ending April 30th, 2024. All right, then we can move to adjournment. There being no further business to come before the board, meeting is adjourned at 12:06 PM.
Thank you.